The DA says its conference this weekend will be its most diverse gathering yet and will determine the party's position towards coalitions after the 2024 election. The party says it's poised to take power and that the election will also determine its presidential candidate for next year's polls. Govan Whittles is in Midrand, where the conference will be held in the next 2 days. So let's start with the 2024 elections. Govan Whittles, what is the DA saying?
Well, they're saying that what they decide at this conference will essentially determine their strategy going into those elections next year, not only in terms of their own polling, which shows that they'll likely have to negotiate for a coalition government at national level, possibly at provincial level, definitely in Gauteng, they think. Interestingly, in KwaZulu-Natal, the IFP is poised to do the same. But the Democratic Alliance clearly having a lot of focus on coalitions at this conference. An interesting turn of phrase by the presiding officers here, Greg Crumbrook, saying that they believe that what they'll be doing here is electing the next presidential candidate of the Democratic Alliance for the 2024 elections, possibly the next president, depending on how they see those national elections going. That's interesting because the DA obviously will have over 1,000 delegates here taking part in this conference. 1,000 of them will be public representatives, those are councillors, and then of course there will be members of the National Assembly, also members of the provincial assemblies, and then they'll have 45% of the delegates being DA members who are not public representatives. They're going to prioritize those who are representatives or members of the DA, officials of the DA, in branches that the DA does not control the ward in, so areas where the other parties are dominating. They're trying to get their input to see how the DA can tweak its strategy to gain a foothold, to gain support in areas where they don't govern at the moment. Those are the views they'll be prioritizing. But let's take a listen to what the presiding officers had to say about their strategies towards 2024 and their views on the candidate that will emerge as the new DA leader here and what that means for their strategy going into the election.
We believe this Congress is very important because with opinion polls constantly reflecting the ruling party under 40%, very often, as happened in Rapport and has happened in the Social Research Foundation polling, which indicated that the DA has now taken over and has overtaken the ANC in urban areas, we could very well be electing the president of the country at this Congress this weekend.
Greg Crumbrook speaking to the DA presser a little bit earlier, essentially outlining what they'll be doing at this conference, how it'll work, what the main issues are that have arisen ahead of the conference. Here's an interesting one. Apparently, Paul Palatse raising concerns about the voting system and whether or not it would be fair. They've said, as the Democratic Alliance, they're using the same electronic voting system they've been using for the last 4 years, an independently developed one. They used it at the Eastern Cape Conference, also at a number of caucuses. They're placing a lot of pride and confidence in this voting system, which they say has not produced a single outcome that's been queried in any of the elections or debates that have taken place where it's been used over the last 3 or 4 years. And Paul Palatse had concerns around whether or not it would produce a valid outcome, an outcome with integrity. Let's take a listen to what he had to say about this and the fact that there have been queries around the integrity of the system.
So we use OpenVote, and we have been using OpenVote for the last 3 or 4 years. We've used it in previous federal congresses. We've used it as recently as in the Eastern Cape at a provincial congress. It's been used in other congresses, and indeed it's been used in various caucuses around the country to conduct elections, including the city of Johannesburg. So we believe it's a proven system within the DA. It's been used for a number of years, as I said. In all those years, we have never once had a query or dispute about the integrity of the system and the secrecy of the ballot.
The DA commenting there on the voting system that they're using in the election for a new leader. Of course, they'll be electing leaders in different positions. Essentially, the new leadership that will take the DA towards the 2024 national election, then crucially towards the next local government election as well. The DA saying its own polling showing it being separated from the ANC by single digits towards the 2024 election. They're trusting their performance in by-elections more than they're trusting the polling. They've highlighted a few by-elections where the DA has done well. Of course, over the last 2 months, there's been a trend of mixed results coming out for the Democratic Alliance. They haven't done well in all of the wards. In fact, in some of the wards, the ANC has won back control of the wards from the DA. The Patriotic Alliance is surging. Certainly in areas where the DA has dominated in the past. This conference doesn't have any formal policy proposal on whether or not they should take a hard and fast decision on whether they should work with the PA. It does have a few other proposals regarding coalitions, but it looks like the EFF will remain one of the only policy positions that the DA has taken firmly, where it refuses to work with the party. We'll bring another story on Newzroom Afrika as we head towards the conference around the relationship with the DA and the ANC. Be on the lookout for that. But one of the other interesting parts of this conference is that the DA is saying that they've also highlighted the fact that a few of the social media posts by candidates vying for elections have been flagged by the committee handling the elections. In some cases, they've been told to take them down. So it's not been a clean election so far. The fight is between Mpopalatse and John Steenhuisen for the position of DA leader. It's likely to be a sure win for John Steenhuisen, and then the attention is likely to shift to the policy and how the DA will interact with other parties as it anticipates a coalition government. It's back to you for now, but we'll have more insights on the DA conference leading up to tomorrow when it will begin.
Absolutely. Govan, Whittles, thank you very much for that update.